Good afternoon, everyone. We're back. I went away for a few weeks, distracted by 5.6 mainly, and well, the other problem that's been slowing me down is I am crap at art, and the thought of making set pieces for POIs is stressing me out. Anyway, we're back. Today's video is just going to be a quick fix-up video. So we're on the P7 release of Voxel plugin now, and Unreal Engine 5.6. And the P7 release changed sculpting. So our sculpting method was not working anymore, and we need to fix it. So we are going to add some new sculpting and make it a little bit better. We're going to use their voxel height sculpt graphs, and I'm going to show you how to make a graph. But first thing we're going to do is, in the third person character, I've deleted all the stuff on begin play and all of the stuff after the line trace. Sorry about that. Right, my dog might be barking in the background. Right. And I've deleted all the variables, apart from the one that I'm actually about to recreate. So we're going to add a, well, in the outliner first, we're going to set the world to voxel size 10. I like it, and it works well for the sculpting we're about to do. I'm going to go up top here, and we're going to add in a voxel height sculpt actor, which you can also find in here. We're going to set the location of this to the world origin. We are going to set the layer to our terrain height sculpt layer, and everything else can be left the same, but I am going to move it into the terrain folder. And in our third person character, we're just going to do what we did before, get actor of class, voxel height sculpt actor. I'm going to set this variable, but you can just promote the variable and rename it, that's fine. Now we need to create the sculpt graph. I've been adding a bunch more folders in here, and I've got an example of a sculpt graph, but let's create it from scratch. So I'm going to go into graph, I'm going to create height sculpt graph, and I will name this square dig 2. It's going to be exactly the same, and I'll get rid of it after this video, but here's what we're going to use. Now on P7, some voxel graphs, not all, now come with an idea of how they should be used, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing that. We're going to start from scratch. So what we are going to do is we are going to make a cube. So I want it to be a Valheim style of digging. We are just going to, where we hit, we're going to lower the terrain by a set amount. So I'm going to create a parameter called dig radius. I'm going to create a parameter called dig location, and that's going to be a vector. And the third is going to be dig depth, how much I want to lower the terrain by. My dig radius is going to control the size of my cubes. Only on the X and Y, I don't need to bother about it on the Z, but I am going to set a basic number there just because I don't know if it'll work without it. We are going to lerp. Lerp is something we love. But what we're going to lerp between is the previous terrain height and a new terrain height set by our dig location and our dig depth. And the alpha for this lerp is going to be our box, but it's going to be, I'm going to invert it. So now basically, if we are outside of the box, it's going to keep the terrain height the same, and inside the box we now need to set that up. So I'm going to break this vector, and essentially I'm going to take the Z component and say lower it from wherever I hit by that amount, and that is going to be our stuff done. Yeah, easy peasy. Our radius is going to be our radius, and our height is going to be this calculation here. And that's it. Let's go back into our third person character. Oh, sorry, let's initialize these variables. 50, sure. 200, sure. Now the location, I don't need to worry about. The location we're definitely going to set in Blueprint. You can set all of it in Blueprint, but you might not be bothered about changing the dig depth ever, so you don't need to. But what we're going to do in the third person Blueprint is we are going to apply a sculpt graph. We're going to apply a height sculpt graph. We're going to get our height sculpt actor. This wants a height sculpt actor, which is what we've made. We're going to set our location as the center. And we are going to set our voxel graph parameter. We are going to set our height sculpt graph parameter. And in this graph for autocomplete, we can select our dig2. And what selecting it does, gives us access to all of the parameters we've created. Dig location, dig location. Nearly done. We now need to populate this, and I'm pretty sure we can just drag out and do a make height sculpt graph wrapper, but we again need to select our graph. We could set it as a variable and set it in there as well, blah blah blah, but we don't need to. And then I'm also going to plug this graph into here. I don't know if I need to use it the version after I've set the parameter. I don't know if I need to, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's it. We should have some sculpting now, he says. Aha, we've gone down a bit. And if I hit the ground, we'll go deeper. If I hit the side, it will push outwards. This is sort of Valheim-y. It's not terrible. It's not that far away. If I turn to the side and dig into there you go. This is not an exact one-to-one representation of what they're doing, but it's not too far off, to be honest. So there you go. Now, with the sculpt graph, you can make all sorts of shapes and stuff like that. This is obviously a height sculpt, so you're limited to putting a height in there. But you could, for example, sample a texture and use that to drive the height change. I've made mine so that it respects the previous height, but it also doesn't need to select the previous height, respect previous height if you don't want it to. Yeah, there's the world's your oyster there. That's the sculpt graph. There are other tools with the height graph. So there's obviously flatten, probably. Voxel volume, voxel height, surface, flatten a voxel surface horizontally. That looks a little bit like the previous version did. So you make a tool, you plug in the normal, any brush type you need, etc. I'll probably set that up in a second video, to be honest, when I decide I need it. But that's this video done. I'm going to start a new non-Valheim, video on the PCG Biome Core plugin next. But then for this series, I think the next thing I'm going to look into is placing points of interest. So I'll have to sort of try and... Well, I'm going to be using marketplace stuff, which users may or may not have access to sort of design some of the things that you would see in Valheim. So, for example, when you're in the meadows, you have some stone circles. You have things like the Draugr villages, and you have, particularly early on in the game, you have like ruins of single sort of tents. So I'll be doing stuff like that, and showing you how to do stuff like that. And yeah, I will catch you later, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, let me know if you want to see anything in the comments. I will get back on top of the comments after this, because I know I've ignored them for a week or so. But yeah, catch you later. Thanks for watching.